on the intercom over the plane says, "Ladies and gentlemen, I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is that we are right on time. The bad news is that our navigational system has malfunctioned and we don't know where we are." You know, when we think about celebrating New Thought, when I think about personally what New Thought has done for me, it has made me keenly aware of two important instruments in my life. One is a watch, and the other is the compass. Where my time goes, how I affirm my time goes, where I put it into, what matters the most to me, and in what direction am I moving, and which way am I pointing. You know, by just a degree or two, your entire life can change in an entirely different way, yes? So in that consciousness, when we think about New Thought, as I was delving into some ideas today, I was thinking about how there was an economist in Italy in 1895, and his last name was Pareto. And what he discovered is that naturally people gravitate in their humanity towards an 80-20 rule. And what he said is that it tends to be, and this is in studying the economy, he realized that 20% of the people in Italy were carrying the 80%. That the 80% are the trivial group, and the 20% are the vital group that raise to the top. And you see it. I know many of you are affiliated with a lot more nonprofits than here, and you see that. 20% of the people volunteer and carry the weight and load so everybody else can come in and sit down and just have a good time. Yes? I'm not trying to step on toes. That's not what I'm talking about today. But you understand that. And anything with theory too, more often than not, 20% of the people carry the giving for the other 80%. And so that's one door to go in today, but it wouldn't be me if I went in that same door, so I want to do something different. I want to look at New Thought in the realm of 80-20 and how it affects us every day in our lives. And you may want to write a couple of these down. One of these would be the 80-20 is that 80% of your energy needs to go into today. You may wonder, the reason is today is literally the only day you can do anything about. So you want to put 80% into this day and 20% into yesterday and into tomorrow. Many people live their 80% focused on either their childhood and what happened way back there, or their ex-husband or wife and what happened way back there, or into some dream that everything's going to come along and sweep us up and we're going to be totally changed without our participation in it, I might add. So 80% is about now. And it's very powerful in that space because you don't even know who you're going to be the rest of the day. And I get so excited about that because if you don't tell the universe who you're going to be today, you could be somebody sexy and sensuous and dynamic and thin and available. Well, I don't know, but I'm going to stick with point. Okay, we have some guests of some very special people today, so I'm going to bring it back down. It is exhilarating to live in the now. Wow. And to be immersed in the moment of what is there. The other 80-20 is when it comes to disease or conditions. And I love what Steve said today about Parkinson's, because he acknowledged that this is something that he has going on. It is what is happening. But in order to overcome a disease or discord or a condition or a situation or a psychological healing, whatever it is, every one of us have something here today. The key is to look at your life as 80% whole, 20% needing adjustment. 80% whole. Immerse in a place of wholeness, and 20% of energy, classes, training, whatever it is that you need to move forward. So many people face conditions with it being all-consuming. It doesn't just take up 80%, it takes up 100%. And that does not help us transform our reality from where we currently stand. Does this work for you? Do you? Okay. Because that is key. I've seen it with Bibi, with her being a cancer thriver. I've seen it with so many people, is they focus on every cell in my body is whole, it is well, it's well-being, and therefore there's this other place I need adjustment. It's what gives addicts freedom. So they're not bound by that story every day and every hour of their lives. You know, in metaphysics, there was a time, especially when I was up and coming, that we had a lot of people practicing metaphysical malpractice. I mean, goodness, tell them you have a cold, and they'd give you a class for 20 minutes and say it wasn't really a cold. Well, call it what you want. I'm still doing the symptoms as a cold. Or, you know, oh, we're not going to give any attention to that condition. Oh, no, no attention whatsoever. I like to remind people it's because of a condition that unity was founded. It's because there was a condition that Myrtle Fillmore says, there is this condition that my body's having, and I want to offer something to transform it. Thus the birth of unity. It is because of Ernest Holmes and his wisdom that he looked near and far around his life and the people that he knew, and the current place of so many people accepting poverty with the depression and everything else. And he was saying, let us teach you to think a different way so your life can transform a different way. But he did see a condition so it could be transformed, right? And so when that is part of it, we all have conditions, but the key is they are with us so that they transform through us and have a different identity because we change and we shift and we transform, right? I think that the other part, especially people that have grown up in traditional Christianity, I don't know if you can grow up in traditional Christianity because you're so, you know, it's a shame thing, it's a guilt thing, it has its own way. And yes, it is a river, and I take the good that I got from it. But I think that often when people have been so exposed to traditional Christianity, they come into metaphysics and they hear things like, you're made in the image and likeness of God and you are God's perfection. And they see that as something psychological instead of a deeper reality of what that means spiritually. So our 80% needs to be that we are made in the image and likeness of God and that we are made in God's perfection. In other words, we are made to be a human being. We are designed to be who we are. And through our life experiences, we draw from the perfection of God. So we understand, just like Jesus did, how to work with spirit, with natural laws, and make a lot of amazing things happen. That's the level of perfection. It's not the psychological, when will I ever be enough? Oh, I thought I had it. Oh, I thought I got it. Oh, I thought I didn't have it. Now I have it. Then I got it. And then I don't have it anymore. It's not about that 20%. That's a carryover from faded days gone by that is still saying I'm not bringing to the table enough. My 80 is I am living in the presence of God, as are you. And immersed in this energy field, it is very exciting because who knows what's going to happen yet. I mean, really, if Moses back then and all the hardships and what they had to endure weather-wise and everything else and bushes burning around him and all those things, he lived to be 120. Can't you think we can live to be 150? I mean, really, why are we just settling for averages? And to me, that's what that means, that part. Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson was teaching her class. One of my friends was telling me this yesterday, that she has them, and you may want to do this week. I'm going to do it this week. You write out 80% of what your vision and what your dreams are. You write out your 80%. I want to have this. I want to see this. I have this dream for my family. Your 20% is, it feels so impossible, like it could absolutely never happen. And you know that God did it, and that's the only way it happened. Are you with me? You with me? Okay, we're live, so I'm just interacting. Okay. So 80% what your dream and goals are. And if you say, I did that 5 years ago, your cells are so different, and hopefully so are you, do it again, 80%. 20% the miracles. And my friend told me, he said, I put down, Temple, that you and I are going to have lunch with the Dalai Lama. And I went, oh, I hope that comes true. What a great dream to have. Hold that one. I think the other thing when we look at energy and life is that so many people still eat 80% of the food that they were raised with. They still eat 80% of those same things that they've eaten all their lives. And 20% through the years, whether they're 40, 50, 60, 80, or whatever, they're willing to do something different. What I feel, because we evolve, our vibration evolves, we change. We want to eat 80% different than we did then, and 20% we can hold on to those fun things that we had when we learned that that was okay to eat that growing up. What do you think? You look very excited about that concept. Because time and time again, I see this, working with people, working with their energy, working with their vitality, looking at them, is because they're stuck in an old paradigm. The biggest thing that we can ever do in our lives when we sit down in front of a plate, you know, it's so commercialized. You don't need one of them, you need 5. And you got to have it because it's on sale or discounted, or you get 1 rib and you get 6 free, or whatever. I mean, and now you don't even bring a plate. Pretty soon they're just going to tell you to bring your truck, and they're just going to put it in the truck for $9.95, and you can have all you can eat. I mean, really think about it. Our plates used to be this big, now they're this big, Big Mama plates. So the thing of it is to look at each thing that you are ready to partake and ask your body, do you want this? You'll be surprised. There's a lot of no's, but here's what happens. Week after week, year after year, week after week, year after year, we still do the same things. Our body will get our attention. One way, or the easiest way. So that's the 80-20. Where I am now is 80% live food and 20% cooked. It's changed my life. Changed my life. I'm not needing to recruit anybody so I can feel comfortable, nor do I think that that needs to be necessarily your truth, but there's something about when you eat live food every day. After a while you eat cooked food and you're just going, what happened? We'll leave it at that. Write that down. Right? It's an energetic presence. It's a vibration. It has an essence to it. It really does. Ernest Holmes would say, life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. Think about what we speak into the mirror of life. Charles Fillmore would say that words are like seeds. And when dropped into that invisible spiritual substance, they grow and bring forth after their kind. It's invisible. You're planting the seeds sometimes of an invisible reality, and it becomes your reality because that's all it can be. And that's going to be the truth of how it happens to you. When we look at the true root of New Thought, we work with the law of reciprocity. In other words, it's reciprocal. In other words, just as the sun is reaching towards the plant, at the same time the plant is reaching towards the sun. Yes? We follow that. And so you want your 80% of your prayer work and your meditation work and your affirmation work to be where you're going in your life, and knowing that the law will have that reciprocity with you, and have 20% of your time, effort, and energy trying to coerce it or make it to happen or get it to happen. I don't know about you, but I spent many years of my life with my 80% trying to make it happen, force it to happen, to get it to happen, kick the door to get it to happen. And 20% to allow God and life to surprise me, Do you resonate with that? And so allow your inner work for the changes that you want life to be your 80% of, well, maybe my vision isn't big enough. Well, maybe I need to think more and spend more time connecting in nature and to God, and leave the rest. Leave the rest. I had shared with you a few weeks ago that my Science of Mind teacher, that he had died, and I was just reflecting on him and that consciousness. And when I heard that, immediately I thought, wow, I would be so honored if I could do his memorial. But I hope they call me soon, because it means going to Nashville, and, well, no one called. So I just let it be. That was my 80% big want. And one day I got a call from his wife. That was Dr. William Taliber. And his wife Lisa called and said, you know, Dr. Bill had a request. He wanted to return to Tampa Bay. That's where he's from. He wanted you to do his service by the water. It meant the world to me, because I was able to support him in going back home. In full circle, because he is the one that brought me home, you see. He is the one that brought me back to that place of knowing that my home is where spirit lives, and that home is where anything is possible, and that home is where infinity exists and can express through me if I get out of my way, let my personality go over to the side of what is possible with that, of being an abundant, prosperous, energetic being that shows that the life force is ever prevailing. He brought me home to that. And sometimes I loved him, and sometimes I didn't particularly like him. And that is what a teacher is. If you always love your teacher, they're not probing and picking and getting you to move. Yes, but eventually the bigger part of your 80% is you will love them because they have transformed your life, because they were willing to stick it out with you through the good, bad, and indifferent. And that is very powerful. Yes, so powerful. Thomas Edison was 67 years old when he walked away from his laboratory one evening, and a group of people came running after him and told him that his laboratory and all of his life's work was on fire, and it was in flames. And he ran back over there and looked, and his son was like trying to find him because he just couldn't imagine what his father would be going through. And his dad said, son, I want you to go get your mom and your sister, because in their lifetime, they will never see a fire like this. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. They will never see anything like this ever again. And everybody's watching him, you see? Watching. Wow. He knew that 80% of his life at 67 had never been tapped, nor lived. 20% was what he had already accomplished in his life. In that moment, in that space, in less than 3 years, that laboratory was up and running. They achieved more in that year and the years to come of new things he brought to our society than ever before. And where he lost in those times 1 million, which would be 23 million now, they gained 3 and 10 times over that amount because of those changes. I see that for us. I see that for you. I see that you're holding that place of your life that you've only tapped into 20%. The rest is yours for the taking. Do well, my friends, do well. Thank you for coming. Bless you. Thank you. Thank you.